Good morning, YouTubians. You know who I am. It's Bear. Don't be sitting over there making faces at me. We have guests here. They're hiding off camera. They're like, do not show us. And I'm like, it's okay. But one of them, they're Texans, so, you know, I see you. Simmer down. We're in Luke 19 this morning. I would encourage you, if you have not kept up with us, but you'd like to, we have playlists here on YouTube from Genesis 1:1, in the beginning Elohim, and Matthew 1:1, working forward in both Old Testament and New Testament. And so in the Old Testament, we've made it up to Deuteronomy 18 thus far. And in the New Testament, here we are at Luke 19. And so if you'd like to go back and read with us in context, not take my words for it, but read with us in context, you can check out those playlists. And for everybody who has emailed and texted and called and messaged and snail mailed about Grindstone Ministries, thank you very much. You guys are freaking awesome. I will ask unashamedly, we need more copies of the scriptures to give away, but also clap hand for everybody. We've given away over 100 copies of the scriptures in the last 6 weeks, 2 months maybe. So that's super cool. So if you'd like to donate the scriptures, email me at November Tango X-Ray, MikeAlphaGolf@gmail.com. If you need a copy of the scriptures, I've got like 2 in inventory right now, but if I got to buy a case of them, I will. If you need a copy, email me and we'll get you hooked up. And I enjoy it. And it's not that somebody told me, they said, you realize you have your own denomination because you have your own holy document. It's like, this right here, the scriptures, www.ISR India Sierra Romeo Messianic.org. This is a translation of the Bible from the original source texts. This isn't like an additional book. This isn't like the Book of Mormon. This is a translation of the Bible from the original source texts, with the only agenda being the truth. I think that's pretty cool. And I find it incredibly readable for what it is. So if you'd like a copy of it, email me. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with Grindstone, grindstoneministries.com. We got all the things going on. We are in the midst of our spring 2020 deployment, planning our summer 2020 deployment. So yeah, 3 minutes in, haven't said a word about the Bible. Let's get busy. Luke 19, and having entered, he, Yeshua, was passing through Jericho, and see a man called Zacchaeus, and he was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. And he was seeking to see who Yeshua was, but was unable of the crowd, for he was small in stature. So there was a big crowd. This dude was short, Zacchaeus. He was like the chief tax collector. And Yeshua's coming into Jericho. Everybody's gathering around to see Yeshua coming, and Zacchaeus can't see because he's not a tall man. And having run ahead, he climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, because him being Yeshua, because he was about to pass by. And as Yeshua came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I have to stay at your house today. It's pretty interesting. Never met the dude before that I know of. It's like if I walk into a city, I see a dude on the corner up on a telephone pole, and I'm like, Bill, come on down from there. I'm staying at your house tonight, right? For I have to stay at your house today. And he hurried and came down and received Yeshua rejoicing. And seeing it, they all grumbled, saying, he has gone in to stay with a man who is a sinner. There's a lot of grumbling that goes along by those who perceive themselves to be righteous. And especially, how dare I, from the crowd that would dare say reading the words of your Bible makes you a legalist. But you know, we won't jump in that rabbit hole right now. So they grumbled, saying, he has gone in to stay with a man who is a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the master, look, master, I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have taken whatever from anyone by false accusation, I repay fourfold. That's awesome. I mean, that's a considerable amount. That's more than what is required by Torah, I believe. And Yeshua said to him, today deliverance has come to this house, since he is also a son of Abraham. For the son of Adam has come to seek and to save what was lost. Yeshua says elsewhere, I come first but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, the son of Abraham. Interesting. And as they were hearing this, he spoke another parable, because he was near Jerusalem, and they thought the reign of Elohim was about to be manifested straight away. Near Jerusalem. They in Jerusalem thought the kingdom of heaven was about to be manifested immediately. He, Yeshua, therefore said, a certain nobleman went to a distant country to receive for himself a reign and return, to go get himself a kingdom. And calling 10 of his servants, he gave them 10 minas, and he said to them, trade until I come. But his subjects were hating him and sent a delegation after him to say, we do not wish this one to reign over us. We don't want you as king. And it came to be, when he came back, having received the kingdom, that he sent for those servants to whom he had given the silver, in order to know what each had gained by trading. And the first came, saying, Master, your mina has earned 10 minas. And he said, well done, good servant, because you were trustworthy in a little, because you were trustworthy in a small matter, have authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, Master, your mina has earned 5 minas. And he said to him also, and you be over 5 cities. And another one came, saying, Master, here is your mina, which I kept laid up in a handkerchief. For I was afraid of you, because you are a hard man. You take up what you did not lay down, and reap what you did not sow. And he said to him, out of your own mouth I shall judge you, you wicked servant. You knew that I was a hard man, taking up what I did not lay down, and reaping what I did not sow. Why did you not put the silver in the bank, and that when I come, I could have collected it with interest? Then he said to those that stood by, take the mina from him, and give it to him who possesses 10 minas. But they said to him, Master, he already possesses 10 minas. For I say to you that to everyone who possesses shall be given, and from him who does not possess, even what he possesses shall be taken away from him. But those enemies of mine who did not wish me to reign over them, bring them here and slay them before me. So this is obviously a parable. This is a parable of Yeshua. This is a parable of the giftings, talents, and delights that we have all been gifted for the kingdom, that we are to use in service to the kingdom, that we are entrusted with something. If we don't use it, it'll be taken away from us and given to somebody else. Those servants of mine who do not wish me to rule over them, bring them here so that I might slay them. Yeah, this is Yeshua again coming against the Pharisees. That little phrase right there. And then the parable of the minas is really straightforward, actually. If you are gifted something by the Father, entrusted with it, you are to have stewardship over it. It's not enough to simply hold on to it for yourself. That's literally, he's like, you could have put it in the bank and at least earned some interest on it while I was gone. You didn't even do that. You didn't grow it at all. That's the lesson there. You didn't grow it at all. You didn't use it. It was gifted to you, but you didn't exercise stewardship over it. You didn't grow it. And because you can't be trusted with even 1 mina, I'm going to take it from you and give it to the guy who clearly executed on the 10 that he was given. Because the goal is not to simply hold on to it and possess it for yourself. It's to grow it and use it to serve the kingdom. This king went out to go get a kingdom, right? These servants were servants to who? The king and his kingdom. We just talked about kings in the Deuteronomy reading that we did, that for y'all would have posted Friday evening. You're supposed to use what the Father equips you with for the kingdom, not simply hold on to it for yourself, not grow it. And having said this is verse 28, he went on ahead going up to Jerusalem, and it came to be when he came near Bethphage and Bethania, that at the mountain of the Olives, that he sent 2 of his taught ones, saying, "Go into the village opposite you, in which as you enter you shall find a colt tied, on which no one has ever sat. Loosen it and bring it here." On which no one has ever sat. I mean, it's untrained, right? It's not broken. And if anyone asks, "Why do you loosen it?" thus you shall say to him, "Because the master has need of it." And those who were sent went away and found it as he had said to them. And they were loosing the colt. The owners of it said to them, "Why do you loosen the colt?" And they said, "The master needs it." So they brought it to Yeshua, and throwing their garments on the colt, they set Yeshua on it. And as he went, they were spreading their garments on the way. And as he was coming near, already at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the entire crowd of the taught ones began rejoicing, to praise Elohim with a loud voice for all the miracles they had seen. To praise Elohim. To praise Elohim with a loud voice for all the miracles they had seen, saying, "Blessed is the sovereign, blessed is the King who is coming in the name of Yahuwah. Peace in heaven and esteem in the highest." We just talked about this in Deuteronomy. Blessed is the King who is coming in the name of Yahuwah. Did we not just talk about this? We just talked about this. Way to go, Peanut Gallery. Good job. The earliest believers in Messiah understood him to be, as foretold, as prophesied, a king and a priest. He was both. And the king was to restore Israel, to return Israel to the Father. And this is why Yeshua is constantly coming against the Pharisees and the scribes. He literally just said, hey, this king is going out to gather a kingdom. He's going to entrust and empower his servants to serve the kingdom. And those that would not support the king, that do not want the king to rule over this kingdom, bring them here so that I may slay them. Right? And here he is coming into Jerusalem. And the people are saying, "Blessed is the King who is coming in the name of Yahuwah. Peace in heaven and esteem in the highest." And some of the Pharisees from the crowd said to him, "Teacher, rebuke your taught ones." They don't want the disciples, the apostles, saying this. But he answering said to them, "I say to you that if these shall be silent, the very stones would cry out." If they didn't say it, the rocks would say it. And as he came near, he saw the city and wept over it, saying, "If you only knew even today the matters for your peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. Because days shall come upon you when your enemies shall build a rampart around you and surround you and press on you on all sides and dash you to the ground and your children within you. And they shall not leave you one stone upon another, because you did not know the time of your visitation." This is very reminiscent of Matthew 24. Coffee breaks going on everywhere. In Matthew 24, in fact, I'll flip there just for a hot minute. Yes, my love. Oh, he's just coming over, sit next to me. Cool. Matthew 24, it's page 947 in the scriptures. "And going out, Yeshua went away from the set-apart place, the temple, and his taught ones came near to point out to him the buildings of the set-apart place. And Yeshua said to them, 'Do you not see all these? Truly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down.'" And he goes on from there to say, "Master, when will this be?" And we get into the entirety of Matthew 24, which is prophetic, which we talk about wars, rumors of wars, famine, disease, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places, which, brief aside, is pretty much what I'm waiting for now. With COVID-19, the Kung flu going around, and locusts in Africa and now in Asia, ? And wars and rumors of wars is constant. I think all we're missing is earthquakes in diverse places. And it's like, oh, yeah, end times. Cool story, bro. Guess I should have actually stacked food to the rafters. So, back to page 1011, Luke 19. Verse 45, "And having entered into the set-apart place, he began to drive out those selling and buying in it, saying to them, 'It has been written, my house is a house of prayer.'" Isaiah 56. and you have made it a den of robbers. And so the Gospel of John gives this little passage right here, these 2 verses, a lot more credit than what you find elsewhere in the other Gospels. But we ought to remember, if we had those little rubber bracelets with the WWJD on it, what would Jesus do? Purposefully making a whip and grabbing people by their throats and flipping tables and throwing people out of the temple is definitely within the realm of possibility. We forget that because a lot of the church leadership these days are like, it's all about the love, brother. Well, sometimes you have to love people by grabbing them by the throat and throwing them out of the temple. Sometimes that's the kind of love that you have to exhibit. Sometimes people, for lack of a better word, need a beating. They need a wake-up call. And you know, how interesting, because I've heard it said, well, the love of Jesus is available to everybody. Unless you're buying and selling in the temple, in which case he's just going to go in there and drive you out. Now, if those people had repented of their sins and come back to Yeshua, I guarantee you he would have received them with compassion. But in the moment, in the depth of their sin, he was not in there trying to love on them. He was driving them out with a whip. Like, I envision like Indiana Jones with that bullwhip that he had. That's what I see. Kind of coupled with like a bar brawl with like tables and chairs flying all over the place, and like, you know, those old Western movies with the double doors at the saloon where people would come like flying out of. That's what I see. That's what I see in my mind. Not a peep from the peanut gallery. Okay. Y'all are no fun.
Amen.
Whatever. Can I get an amen? So it's, but it also proves the point. There is such a thing as a righteous rage. Can you be angered in righteousness? Yeah. Righteousness, Luke 1:6, is walking blamelessly in the commands of the Most High Yah. Can you be pissed and be walking blamelessly in the commands? I think in certain instances it is possible. So, verse 47, and he was teaching daily in the set-apart place, but the chief priests and the scribes and the leaders of the people were seeking to destroy him. But they did not find what they might do, for all the people were hanging upon him, listening. They wanted to kill him. They couldn't find an opportunity because everybody was hanging on Yeshua's every word, and they couldn't get at him. But he literally had just told a parable saying, look, you Yehudim, I will slay you. I am the king of this kingdom. These are my servants who I am empowering and entrusting them so that they can do good works to grow my kingdom, to grow what has been invested in them, to serve my people. And if you can't get on board with that, come here at my feet and I will slay you. And then he goes into the tent. He goes into Jerusalem, the Holy of Holies, the place where Yah has made his name dwell. Goes in on this untamed cult and is received saying, here comes the king of Yahuwah, who Yahuwah has put his name into him. Here he comes. And the Pharisees are pissed. And then he goes into the temple and starts throwing people out. And then after he cleanses the temple, sets up shop in the temple and starts teaching, of course they're pissed. And this is the beginning of the end, so to say, for Yeshua. This is where they start plotting murder. They're like, we've had enough. This guy's got to go. And that's it. That's Luke 19. It's actually a pretty long passage, but it's pretty straight away as well. There's not much to it that, there's no real depth of discernment needed as far as I'm concerned. So, takeaways, it's okay if you gotta cleanse the temple to get a little pissed. Also, if you want to get metaphorical with it, if you have Yeshua in you, and, you know, our body is a temple, right? And it just feels like, man, your life has become a mess since you've invited Yeshua in. Sometimes you got to get your temple cleansed. Sometimes he just has to run through your life and flip tables and evict people from your life to get this corruption out of you. to get you away from these situations. And sometimes the best way for that to happen is violent action. Sometimes the people polluting the temple won't leave without it. And so if you find yourself in the midst of that kind of chaos, but you're in Yeshua and he's in you, it might be that he's cleansing your temple. Something to think about. Shalom, y'all.